Hey guys, welcome back to Snowball Investing. It's been a little while since I've done an update, so what I do is walk through my free trade portfolio, but also walk through some changes I've made, including starting a Vanguard account. Before we jump into the stocks and shares ISA, if you could like and subscribe, I'd really appreciate it, as it will help the channel grow and keep me motivated to keep making videos month in, month out. So the value of the ISA sits at £35,794. The overall portfolio is down by 3,405, although as you can see from this chart, it's probably one of the best months I've had in the market since I've started investing. In the past month, the ISA is up by just over £6,609. Do I think this is a bear market rally, or actually are we going into the bull market? Honestly, I've got no idea, but I've held back buying any large amount of stocks in my free trade portfolios, although I have been buying consistently in the S&P 500 in my Vanguard account, but I'll touch on that later in the video. Comparing the ISA to the FTSE All-World ETF, the portfolio is outperforming when it's up by 22%, where the ETF is up by 6.25 in a month. And this is kind of the fun of having a portfolio with a lot of speculation plays. When we go up in the market, the portfolio goes up by quite a bit, but the inverse is true. When there's a bear market and there's a downtrend, the portfolio takes a larger hit. So bear that in mind when you're investing. So let's start looking at some individual positions, starting off with Palantir. So it's had a pretty good month, as have pretty much all stocks. So it's up around 33% on the month, but the overall position is down by 13%. I haven't been buying too much of this for the moment. I'm waiting for earnings call to see what the outcome of that is. Normally Palantir has taken a hit in the past earning calls, so if it does drop a large amount, I may buy depending on what the earnings call has to say. Next up, we have the FTSE All-World ETF. This is up by 5.24%, which equates to about £304. I mean, that's fairly respectable in a market like this. What I would say is I don't expect to become rich off the FTSE All-World ETF or any other ETFs, although once these become a very large position and you've got them in the 50, 100,000s, I think that's when the compounding interest really takes effect. So that's why I plan to have a combination of a large amount of ETFs and have speculation plays, which keeps things interesting for me and has potential for more upside later on. We have SoFi sitting at £1,634 and it's up by 2.13%. I actually didn't expect to see SoFi in the green for a little while, so this is a very nice, pleasant surprise. And one of the reasons for that is SoFi, not surprisingly, had a very good earnings call. And that's where you can see this jump from about under $6 to $6.70. That's been trending upwards ever since. I wish I bought more in the $4 range, although in this sort of market, I wouldn't be surprised if it does come back down to about the $5 range. And if it does, I'll be looking to increase my position. The Nasdaq's down by 6.33%. Another company that had a pretty solid earnings call was Meta. So I'm actually very close to breaking even on this, and I'm actually in profit in my GIA, which I'll touch on a bit later. So I mean, the sentiment around Meta around the sort of November time was extremely bad. A lot of people were thinking, they're just wasting, hemorrhaging money on the VR headsets. But, a lot of the other businesses are extremely solid, WhatsApp, Facebook, etc. And the stock price has nearly doubled in a very short period of time. So it was trading around the $88 range, and it shot up all the way to $186. So it's a pretty insane run up, and I'm quite fortunate to have been buying Meta towards this sort of low price in my general investment account. Next up, we have Alphabet down by 8.79% and Microsoft down by 0.71%. Earnings were okay in my view. Again, long-term holds, I'm not concerned at all by some of these companies. They're just going to be around for a very, very long time. Another company which has had a pretty insane run-up is Tesla. So I'm down by 13%, but on the month, the actual stock is up by 74%, which is, again, it's crazy to see. I'm not quite break-even on this yet, which is fine, but as a long-term hold, Tesla's going to be a very solid company in the future. So looking at some of the other smaller positions, it's actually quite nice to see some green for once. I'm so used to seeing red that, yeah, I mean, I could get used to this. So PayPal's down by 16%, DraftKings up by 6%. SR Capital is probably one of my biggest gainers in both my portfolios. That's up by 80%, which I'm very happy about. Some of the semiconductor companies have been doing quite well as well. AMD is still in the green a little bit by 3.2%, but Nvidia is up by 33%, so pretty nice run up. Boohoo still down a fair bit. Ginkgo Bioworks recovering, but still in the red at minus 15%. Apple's earnings were okay. They were showing signs of decline. To be honest, I'm not very excited about Apple given where it is in terms of its valuations and opportunity for growth. So I'm probably not going to be buying Apple unless it has a pretty big dip in the price. And you can see some of these other very smaller positions, a mixture of red and some green. UK banks, one of the areas, have been doing quite well as well. That concludes the ISA update. I do have £4,000 left to spend on the ISA. I'll probably spend that before the next financial year, and when that new financial year starts, I'll probably be using free trade again and basically nibbling across the companies already existing in this portfolio. Moving over to the general investment account, the value sits at £11,317. The portfolio overall is actually in the green, even though only by £17.99. Looking at the chart, it's probably a little bit misleading, as this drop here makes you probably think that I basically lost a lot of money. But actually what I did was move my S&P 500 holdings within the GIA into a Vanguard account, and I'll walk through that after the GIA update. The GIA has been doing fairly well in the past month as well, so it is up by 15%, where the FTSE World is up by 6.25. The positions in my GIA are very similar to my ISA, so I won't go into too much detail, but as you can see in this account, Meta is up by 23%. I was buying this quite heavily when basically the price took a dump and I thought the company was very undervalued, and that has sort of paid off. As you can see, the position is up by £476. Starbucks had a not great earnings, mainly due to the impact from China, but luckily still in the green by 35%. Oatly's made a very nice recovery. It is still down by 17%, probably going to be extremely volatile, but it's nice to see a bit of a recovery. NEO is still not performing great, down 43%, and JP Morgan still in the green by 21%. So that concludes the GIA update. So let's move across to the Vanguard account. So looking at my Vanguard account, this sits at £7,462, and already the S&P 500 is up by a pretty nice £463. One of the reasons I moved my S&P 5 holdings from the free trade GIA into Vanguard is I really want to build this into a very large position. What better platform to build that position on than Vanguard itself, which has been around for decades and decades. The way I've got this set up at the moment is Vanguard takes $1,500 every single month from my bank account and buys the S&P 500. So regardless of what's happening with the market, I'm continually buying these assets. And as you can see, it's already a sizable position at £7,462. My plan going forward is to continue with this approach up until the new financial year, which is when I'll start switching to putting money into my free trade stocks and shares ISA. And the reason for that is that ISA is that tax efficient wrapper. If I have any additional money per month, I will be putting it into this Vanguard S&P 500 holding. So that concludes the February portfolio update. Hopefully that's been interesting. If you've got any questions, feedback or comments, feel free to drop them in the comment section below, and I'll catch you in the next month's update.